Today we will be discussing substance abuse in the rural community. While living in a rural community, individuals are more likely to abuse substances when compared to their urban counterparts. This can have detrimental effects on an individual's physical and mental health. The National Institute of Mental Health notes people with a substance use disorder may also have other mental health disorders, and people with mental health disorders may also struggle with substance use. According to Rural Health Information Hub, rural adults have higher rates for use of tobacco and methamphetamines. Rural adolescents and young adults use alcohol at higher rates and are more likely to engage in high-risk behaviors like binge drinking than their urban counterparts. Jeremy has been exhibiting the signs of alcohol abuse, as according to the Rural Health Information Hub. There's a lack of motivation, repeated absences, poor work performance, a need for privacy, outbreaks in temper, and general changes in attitude. He is currently in trouble with his school because of too many unexcused absences and is at risk of failing. He constantly fights with his family and has become angrier over time. He has started exhibiting increasingly dangerous behavior. It is important to address this problem because Jeremy is currently a danger to himself and the community. He engages in reckless behavior on public streets, which could cause innocent bystanders to get hurt. It also encourages peer pressure because most teenagers in the community drink. The drinking might cover up any potential underlying mental health disorders. And according to Friesen and others, the association between virality and adverse alcohol outcomes also become more pronounced when increasingly hazardous and harmful patterns of alcohol use were evaluated. Bronfenbrenner's ecological model, also known as the ecological systems theory, is a framework that helps us understand how individuals are influenced by their environment. It was developed by psychologist Uri Bronfenbrenner. The individual is at the base of this model and is the person who the rest of the ecological model is based upon. Every other part of the ecological model has something to do with the person at the center of the model. The microsystem is who or what is a part of the individual's direct environment. Examples include families, religions, institutions, schools, peers, and neighbors. The mesosystem is the relationships between the microsystems. It can also be viewed as how the microsystems interact with each other. Examples include interactions between families and teachers discussing the individual, and interactions between peers and families discussing the individual. The exosystem is the setting in which there is a link between the context wherein the person does not have an active role and the context wherein is actively taking part. This involves links between social settings that do not involve the individual. Examples include an individual's experience at home is influenced by an experience their parent had at work. An individual's experience at school is influenced by an experience their teacher had at home. The macrosystem is the larger cultural and social context of the individual. You could also view it as their background. Examples include race, class, or ethnicity. The chronosystem is the transitions and shifts in one's lifespan. It can also be viewed as the changes that they experience throughout their lives. Examples can include major life events, divorce, or change in social status. Jeremy is a 16-year-old male that lives with his parents and 3 brothers on their family farm in rural Gaffney. He is currently a sophomore at Gaffney High School. He enjoys partying and staying out late. He used to do well in school, but his grades have been gradually declining. He gave up on trying out for the football team. He has been exhibiting signs of depression due to alcohol abuse. He also engages in reckless behavior with his brothers. His microsystem consists of Jessica, his mother and a full-time worker on the family farm. Joshua, his father, who is also a full-time worker on a family farm, Joaquin, his eldest brother, who is 21 and a welder in a local factory, Jonathan, the second oldest brother, who is 18 and currently a senior at Gaffney High School, Johann, the youngest boy, who is 12 and attends Gaffney Middle School, as well as his peers at Gaffney High School and those that have graduated. His mesosystems include his parents communicating with his older brothers about letting them drink in excess. Jonathan notes that Jeremy becomes aggressive when he drinks, so he discusses with his parents enrolling Jeremy in counseling. His classmates that come over often discuss with his family that he has a problem with excess drinking at parties. His neighbors have known each other for generations, and because of this, they have formed a closely knit community. The neighbors look after one another and look out for other families in need. His distant cousins, Larry and Gary, who live in Boiling Springs, North Carolina, occasionally come to town to party. Highway Patrol has had to tell the boys numerous times that they cannot drive their four-wheelers on the roads, and because of this, they are well known by the local Highway Patrol. The local law enforcement is often called to their house because of noise complaints. There is a family culture of drinking alcohol. Both parents grew up in a rural community in families that drank heavily. It was common while his parents were growing up to give alcohol to children as young as 8. His grandfather has PTSD from the Korean War and drinks to avoid his problems. He shares his liquor with his grandsons and encourages them to drink rather than to think. His family has a household income of $28,100, so they barely qualify as lower middle class. Their income comes from selling hay, livestock, produce, and honey, and they often have to go to farmers markets to sell their products. His chronosystem consists of 2 major events that happened within his life. During his freshman year, his father had a severe injury after falling off a ladder while picking apples. He had to spend weeks in the hospital for back surgeries and rehabilitation. Everyone in the family was concerned about the father's health, but they all drank to numb the anxiety. It was a very difficult time for each family member. It had a negative impact on Jeremy's mental health because instead of developing proper coping strategies, he decided to drink to numb the pain. There was another time where Joaquin got into a severe four-wheeler accident. Joaquin had had a bad day at work and drank too much. His parents had hid his car keys because of how intoxicated he was, but he ran out of alcohol and decided that he needed to go to the store. He took the four-wheeler, but had an accident in the driveway. He broke several bones and had a severe concussion. This made Jeremy aware that his brother was not immortal. Mixed methods would be the best approach to community research because you gather both qualitative and quantitative data and use that to guide your system. You can combine the quantitative research and compare and contrast it to the qualitative research to help recognize and understand patterns that correlate. Sequential exploratory design would be ideal. Phenomenology and interviews will help focus on Jeremy's experience with his family and peers. Open questions would help gain insight to guide development of a system for collecting quantitative data. Using survey questions like how many days do you have 3 or more drinks a week can be beneficial in understanding. The goal of the research is to highlight vulnerabilities in the community. You want to collect and analyze qualitative data, and then use the qualitative data to guide the development of a new tool or system for collecting quantitative data, and then analyze and interpret the results. For qualitative data, I would ask questions like, what is your current emotional state? Do you feel fulfilled in your daily life? Do you feel as though your family emotionally supports you? Do you feel as though your friends are looking out for your best interests? For quantitative data, I would ask questions like, how many days do you have 3 or more drinks? How many days a week do you fight with your family? How many days a week do you feel stressed from school or work? I would compare quantitative data from questions such as how many days a week do you have 3 or more drinks, or how many days a week do you feel as though you do not have control over your life, to qualitative data that I would gather from questions such as do you feel supportive at home, or do you feel supported at school, in order to find any correlations between negative behaviors and negative things going on in their lives. I would consider using a grassroots intervention as a treatment approach. The community knows itself much better than I do. I would gather members of the community who are interested and discuss strategies to address alcohol abuse within the community. I would help them create objectives and decide which actions they can carry out together. We would collaborate and organize events to create support groups and raise awareness about the side effects of alcohol abuse. This strategy targets Jeremy's microsystem by targeting his peers within the community, his neighbors, and his parents. The community group should focus on how a parent's attitude affects their child's attitude on alcohol abuse, the physical harm that comes from drinking in excess, how easy it can be to enable someone's drinking, and warning signs of alcohol poisoning. It is best to target this layer of the ecological model because he is more likely to listen to his peers. This is the best approach because it will target the people Jeremy will listen to, like his peers or family. His parents might also become involved in the program and incorporate healthy coping strategies. His brothers might be interested in helping their local community as well, and then it can become a family affair of helping to support others. If the community intervention worked, some potential outcomes could include Jeremy's grades improving because he is attending class on a regular basis again. Jeremy and his family begin discussing their problems in a healthy manner rather than ignoring them and drinking them away. Jeremy becomes healthier because he is no longer damaging his liver. Jeremy's family becomes closer because they are not fighting as much due to drinking. Jeremy tries out for the football team again because he is feeling less depressed. Strengths of this intervention include the community working together to make things happen. The more community support, the more emotional resources available. Peers have the opportunity to build each other up and help one another. It can also be a great networking opportunity. Limitations of this interview can include being completely reliant on the community. If no one is interested in participating, there can be no program. If the teenagers are not interested, it will not likely gain traction and there will not be as much success. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my presentation.